From the oldest maps right up to the latest Hollywood blockbusters, the idea of a sea monster has, well, it's hunted us for as long as we've dared to sail the oceans. They're these incredible creatures of the deep, right? They're symbols of our biggest fears, but they're also reflections of our own nature. So let's dive in and explore what these monsters of the abyss truly reveal about us. For centuries, this phrase, "here be dragons," was so much more than just a cool decoration on a map. No, it was a genuine warning. It marked the terrifying edges of the known world, that point where everything familiar just stopped, and the vast, terrifying, utterly mysterious ocean began. It was a literal admission that, hey, we have absolutely no idea what's lurking out there. And here's the kicker, something that's honestly just mind-boggling. Even with all our modern technology, submarines, satellites, you name it, this number is a testament to how mysterious the ocean still is. A staggering 95% of our planet's oceans are still completely unexplored, never even seen by human eyes. The ancient maps might be gone, but that sense of the great unknown, oh, it's still very much with us. And that leads to the big question, doesn't it? The one that's fueled myths, inspired incredible adventures, and driven scientific exploration for thousands of years. It's the question that really sits at the heart of our fascination and our fear. And our journey to answer it? Well, it starts way back, in the realm of myth. All right, so our journey begins at the surface. We're going back to a time of folklore and myth, a time when early civilizations were just trying to make sense of a world that was powerful, totally unpredictable, and frankly, often deadly. I mean, think about it. Before we had weather satellites and sonar, how did you explain a rogue wave that could just swallow a ship whole? Or a sudden, violent storm that came out of nowhere? You gave it a face. Monsters like sirens or the Kraken or giant sea serpents, they weren't just scary bedtime stories. They were a practical way to personify the very real dangers of the sea. They became these cautionary tales, a way to map the hazards of a world that hadn't been mapped yet. And speaking of monsters, they don't get much more epic than the Norse world serpent, Jörmungandr. I mean, this thing wasn't just some monster, it was a cosmic force. Odin himself supposedly threw it into the ocean, and it just kept growing and growing, until it was so huge it wrapped around the entire world, literally biting its own tail to hold the oceans in place. The scale of this myth is just incredible. It shows a monster that isn't just a hazard, it's a fundamental part of the world itself. And Jörmungandr's big rival? None other than the god of thunder, Thor. Their rivalry plays out across three incredible stories. First, Thor is tricked into trying to lift the serpent, which is magically disguised as a giant cat, a huge test of his strength. Then he actually hooks the beast on a fishing trip and pulls its horrifying head from the waves, a real moment of pure confrontation. But their final battle comes at Ragnarok, the literal end of the world, where they finally destroy each other. Just an epic clash. Okay, so as the age of exploration dawned, science started to sail into those uncharted waters. The light of reason and observation began to push back against the darkness of folklore, and it started to answer what the writer Jules Verne called the question of the monster. And this is where things get really interesting. You've got the mythical Kraken on one side, this terrifying beast that drags whole ships to their doom. And then on the other side, we have its real-life counterpart, the giant squid, a genuine deep-sea creature that can grow up to 43 feet long. All of a sudden, the myth wasn't so mythical anymore. It turned out that reality could be just as incredible as any legend. Now, you'd think this discovery would kill the monster myth, right? But nope, it actually made it even scarier. It sparked this wild cultural phenomenon called cephalomania. The public became obsessed with squids and octopuses. Why? Because science had basically proven that creatures like the Kraken were real. It gave the whole idea a terrifying new plausibility. If the giant squid was down there, what else could be lurking in the dark? And Jules Verne just captured this feeling perfectly. Science had answered some questions, sure, but in doing so, it had opened up so many more. It revealed a world that wasn't free of monsters, but an abyss so vast and so deep that our imagination was really the only limit to what it could possibly contain. The unknown actually became even more terrifying. And that profound terror of the unknown, it started to shift. As science began to chart the deep, writers and thinkers started to wonder, maybe the most terrifying things out there weren't in the water at all. Maybe they were already on board the ships. And that leads us to a really fascinating pivot point. What if the most dangerous thing in the ocean wasn't a creature, but a conviction. Yeah, this is where the sea monster story really takes a turn. It becomes less about a physical threat out there in the water and way more about a deep, psychological symbol. It becomes a mirror for the darkness that we all carry inside ourselves. I mean, just look at two of the most famous captains in all of literature. You've got Captain Ahab from Moby-Dick. His obsession with that one white whale turns him into an absolute monster. And his ship, the Pequod, it becomes just an extension of his mad quest. And then there's Captain Nemo. His obsession is even bigger. It's vengeance against all of humanity. And his monster? It's the Nautilus submarine, this technological marvel that he uses as a weapon. In both stories, it's the man's obsession that makes him far more monstrous than any beast. And this really gets to the very heart of it. Check this out. The word monster itself comes from Latin roots that mean to reveal and to warn. And that's exactly what characters like Ahab and Nemo do. They're literary monsters designed to reveal some really uncomfortable truths about obsession and revenge and to warn us about the monstrous potential that's actually inside all of us. So you can think of it like this. You've got two mirrors. The beast in the water, well, that reflects our fear of the outside world, of chaos, of the unknown, of things we can't control. But the beast inside the man, that reflects our fear of ourselves. It's a mirror for our own capacity for madness and destruction. It's just brilliant how literature uses one to explore the other. You know, maybe the most powerful monsters are the ones we just can't wrap our heads around. Take a look at this bizarre, almost industrial-sounding description of the biblical Leviathan. Flaming torches, sparks of fire, breath that kindles coals. It's an image that's almost impossible to picture. And that's the whole point. Its power lies in the fact that we can't comprehend it. It represents something truly, completely other. Okay, so after all of this, after going from folklore to science to deep psychology, it brings up a big question. Why do these stories still have such an incredible grip on us, even in our modern world? Well, the truth is, the legacy is absolutely everywhere. Sea monsters are titans of our entertainment, from giant kaiju like Godzilla in the movies to the prehistoric creatures that just totally capture our imagination. They also inspire this real sense of awe and a desire to protect our oceans. And finally, that basic, fundamental allure of the unknown. It's still what fuels our scientific drive to explore the last great frontier right here on our own planet. You know, that old warning, "Here be dragons," might have disappeared from our maps of the world. But as we navigate the totally uncharted territories of our future, with new technology, new societies, new challenges, it's really worth asking, what new dragons, what new monsters are we creating right now to represent the fears and the wonders of our own time?